Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Glad to see you here with us tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. While you're in chat, we'll have a presentation. And during that presentation, if you have any questions, just throw them in there. And while you're in chat, always be mindful to be respectful of the mods, families, and each other. Mrs. Steve is still in Florida. I'm up here in Georgia, so by myself, but I got my blue light, so we're ready to go. We were doing, as I was having a very busy day today, and I was finally got to the point of looking at articles, doing some research, and trying to figure out the best way to do our presentation for tonight. And I was talking to Mrs. Steve, and everything was coming out really good. And I had a great presentation set up. I was doing, getting all the excerpts from the articles. And then it came out that the latest news that the Indiana Supreme Court outdid itself in a timely manner. Never expected it, and for it to be today. But so that killed a lot. It took a lot of the thunder away from my lightning. And so anyway, with that being said, we'll get into the presentation and into chat and everything here. And but I just want to thank everybody for being here. And so as we get started, if you have any information on this case, absolutely make sure law enforcement has it for as the trial moves forward. Back with our newest and latest news as far as the attorneys being reinstated, that it will, as we've always seen with this case, it flip-flops every day, every time you go to the court. It never stops at the surprises and opening new avenues, new doors, and so that we as a community, we have people that will be debating with the findings of the Supreme Court, and which there's not a lot you can argue. You know, ultimately they get to make the decision, and that's where we're standing at now. But if you have any information, make sure law enforcement has that information for the fact that we do wish to have justice for Libya and Abby. Before we get too far into it, I want to check my chat and see how everything's going. There's Jess, Melina, and Cunningham. Good to see you. Let's see if I can get this thing going. There we go. Southern Gal, Tanya. Tanya says, I still think that the judge needs to be replaced. She cannot give a fair and unbiased opinion, but that's just my opinion. And you know, and I understand that. The Supreme Court has decided that while she did certain things that they felt was improper, and they've corrected to the point that of reinstating the attorneys. She knows where she stands with that, and and that's some of the things we're going to look at. For the fact that in law enforcement, we communicate, law enforcement, when we go out and we are speaking and doing interviews, that's all a world of questions. Whereas we're asking questions, we get responses, and we build a case. But the questions don't stop just with us. So as when we develop a case and we go to the into the judicial part of the proceedings, we have to answer questions. And so I live in a world of questions, even with Mrs. Steve. Mrs. Steve says, what have you done now? How was your day? But we communicate through those matters, and no matter what it is, and it's by questions. And especially in law enforcement, I can tell you pretty much exactly which way the wind is blowing by the questions asked. And that was part of the presentation I was going to do tonight. Was I was looking at those questions that the judges were asking, and that was going to steer show me which way the winds were blowing, which way it was taking us. And you'll see from my chart that I quit working on for the fact that I'd been working on it for a while, and then went for the most recent update, and that's when I found and saw the article that they've been reinstated. So, from those questions and from the chart, you'll see, like I said, you'll see exactly which way the wind was blowing and what that meant. But always remember that whenever you're, even in your own lives, all of us know exactly what's happening by the questions that we're asked. Are people disappointed in us? What are they interested in? What questions do they ask us? And why do they ask those questions? Because those questions tell us how they feel about what we did. My chain of command, when they called me into the office, or they called a group of us in the office, we knew instantly who was in trouble, because they'll go and they'll look exactly at whichever individual. And sometimes I was the focus, and they would look at me and say, "What were you thinking?" And I knew it wasn't a good day. Why did you do that? And, if you don't have a really good answer, it's not going well. And the same thing happens in court, that when those attorneys ask those very fixed questions, because they are in court, it's not an open forum, whereas you can just go in there and just rant and rave about anything you want to. You're asked specific questions. They are very narrow, and you have to stay within the parameters of what that question is. That if it's a yes or no, it's yes and no. If you need to explain, you have to ask to and advise the court that you need a little bit more leeway than just yes or no. And and that's the point that we're going to be looking at. All right. Of course, Baldwin and Rozzi, what they did and what the dispute with the judge is when the judge removed them from the as the primary attorneys. And the new attorneys went and fought for them for the fact that Allen says, "Hey guys, I want my old attorneys. We already have strategy. Everything's set up. I'm happy with it. They're the guys I want." And of course, that's what got fast tracked to the Supreme Court. And little did I know that once it got to the Supreme Court, whoever would have ever thought that what usually takes months and weeks took them minutes. Because even from the questions, you could see that some of the judges, they were asking very pointed questions, and those questions are always questions. They're almost statements with a open-ended, why do you think that's the case? Why do you think? And so, but anyway, the Indiana Supreme Court reinstates Allen's original attorneys, and they keep the judge as a special judge. And I have no problem with that. She's a good judge. She's well respected. And regardless of what other people will say, everybody's open to those opinions. And will there be issues as we move forward? It's also the thing that she knows that she's under the magnifying glass, and she's going to be, she has to protect her reputation and has to show that she's not prejudiced. And so, and judges understand that. And is that going to bring that she's going to be extra special, paying attention to the details, making sure that there's no appeals or any chance of anything being overturned due to her future decisions. And judges are put, they're under a tremendous amount of pressure all the time, but that's what they're there for. Judges are extremely intelligent, extremely well-versed in emotions and how to control the courtrooms and control themselves. And just like attorneys are. Now, sometimes you see them break down, but most of the time it's pretty well orchestrated and everything's well done. But anyway, the high court ruled that Baldwin and Rossi can return to defend Allen in his double homicide trial. However, the court declined to move up Allen's trial and remove Fran Gull as special judge, which means that we're not from this here that there's not a speedy trial, that they're not going to do that we're moving it up and we're instantly going to trial. Now, will they readdress the court on that, and will she fall back on that? Like I said, we get clarification on some of it, we'll do some more updates further along. But anyway, one of the silliest statements that came, and this, like I said, this statement was made prior to the findings of the Supreme Court. But the Chief Justice, Loretta Rush, says, "I'm really struggling with why Allen can't make the decision if that in his best interest, and let's get this case moving again." And that's a very critical point, that why can't he do this, and why can't we get this case moving again? That tells you that, in her point, that, hey, if we just simply reassign the prior attorneys, we're back on track, guys. All we've done is lost whatever time between now and then. So she said she's ready. Her decision could have been that if, within minutes, she knew where it's going. But then Sanchez pointed out that the Indiana Supreme Court has no absolute duty to order anything in hearing these arguments on Thursday. But Lehman, who is the attorney that was arguing before the court, stated that his client, Richard Allen, would accept whatever the court rulings is, which to me is probably one of the is the understatement of all understatements, for the fact that your client is housed, he's in jail, he's on court, and he has no other option than to do what the Supreme Court says. He can't argue. It's over. Yes, that's a moot point to even bring to the courts that offer it. But like I said, it's just, word salad for him, I guess, or in my opinion. Now, there may be some that he was just trying to smooth out the covers by saying that, hey, Richard Allen, regardless of which way he'll be happy with the results. He just wanted y'all's to look at this and be fair and unbiased. And but other than that, I can't understand why this was even said. But the high court, when they adjourned, they said they would get this decision back as soon as possible. Little did I know it would just be a matter of hours or so. Extremely interesting. But anyway, this is the chart. I had the state side, and then I had the Allen side. And I was going through all the newspaper articles, and this is what I do. That if you're going to see where court rulings and or even as you're getting, you're watching a jury trial, you look at those questions. What questions were focused upon? What were those questions, and what was the response, and how powerful of a statement, and which way were they leaning? Was it good for the defense, or was it good for the prosecution? And Judge Rush at one point says, "Can a judge draw a line on what is insubordinate or not, and or ineffective, and does that judge have a right to do that?" So I kind of gave that to the state. That statement was kind of that. Can't judges kind of set what they want in their own court? And then, then it was asked about the speedy trial, and the high court says, "You got 2 months. You've had 2 months and you didn't. So that's not even an issue." On the Allen side of it, that Judge Rush said it wasn't proper and there was no process. And like I said, that told me that she pretty well had made up her mind. And Massa, I don't know if that's pronounced properly, but anyway, he said that there's just being insubordinate doesn't mean you're ineffective, and there's no truer statement than that. I've seen a lot of officers who did things that was insubordinate, but it was extremely effective, and I've been accused of that myself. And then the high court has total made a statement that doesn't the individual defendant have the right to waive what they wish? They have the right to waive counsel if they wanted to. And if they have the right to waive counsel, shouldn't they have the right to, if someone is ineffective, or even that they should have the ability that saying that, oh, they're ineffective, but I still want them as counsel. And if they do waive that, then of course that takes care of the appeal process. But when Rush says that the best interest and get the case moving, I gave that once again to Alan, and we were at 4-2 already. And that's, like I said, when I got the latest update and just decided that, okay, there's no further on that. All right, let's go over here to chat and see what's going on. Olivia Tooth here, Southern Gal, good to see you. Oh, me, Molly. It was a unbelievable day. Like I said, this case does not allow you to sleep because something always, there's never been a court hearing that something hasn't popped up. This'll do nicely. Member for 16 months. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate your support, Thistle. All right. Nightbot's out there working. Let's see here. Justified within 4 hours. Yeah, I think it was like 4:30 or so. And like I said, I just had refreshed the any of the updates for Richard Allen, and that's when it popped up for me. And I thought, I've got to see what I can do about that. And what does that mean? Oh, me. Hello, Peggy. Good to see you. Sandy says, Sandy says, I accidentally cheated when Ruckus Community Post floated through my feed just now. It's not cheating. Oh. Josh Potts, I heard that the justices were asking questions about the option to represent itself, so why not to have choice of attorney? And that was one of the questions that, and I have that excerpt in here so that you'll be able to see that. Yes, you have the right to, I reckon, in every state to represent yourself. Now, a lot of times you'll see, I don't know if that's true in every state, but I don't know personally offhand any state that says you have to, that you lose that right to represent yourself. I think that everyone has a right to represent themselves in the United States. But I don't believe that, I think that's part of the Constitution and of choice of counsel. Demead, good to see you. CJK. And this is interesting. I hadn't thought about. Molly says, I wouldn't be surprised if Gull withdraws from the case since she was appointed chief judge of Allen County and her recent health issues. She can do that and save face at the same time. She doesn't have to save any face, but that is an interesting thought. Peg, I have to deal with questions all day and I live alone. Oh, that's funny right there. Hello, Dave. Oh, and that's what was corrected. Girl didn't give because that was part of one of the questions from the judge, that there wasn't a process, and that we'll get into that. Actually, we'll go ahead and move through that. This is a Rush when she says, Richard Allen wants these attorneys. We're spending and spending and spending on this and delaying this, but he wants these attorneys. Indiana Supreme Court Justice Loretta Rush said, I'm really struggling why he can't make this decision that's in his best interest and get this case moving again. And like I said, with that one statement there, that pretty well tells you exactly which way they're heading. And this is where the she also was talking about can a judge draw a line if in cases of questions of bringing the focus of the court back. Chief Justice Loretta Rush pressed Lehman on the questionable things that have occurred on the case, including the leak, and wondered whether there's a line a trial judge has to draw, and which is a good point. And this was kind of a non-issue that Justice Goff asked. His question was, why bring it to us now? And both sides pretty well brought it that there would be a further delay, that if we took it to the appeal court and didn't get the right answer up front, we're going to be here eventually anyway. And that takes time, and we want a speedy trial. And so that's the reason that, and I'm pretty sure that's part of the reason that the Supreme Court went ahead and jumped and already come to their ruling relatively quickly. All right. And then, and this is where Judge Rush really brought out the point that it does not appear that this was done the proper way. And so anytime a judge says, it doesn't appear this was done proper, meaning that I'm going to make sure it's proper. Because how many times have we had been caught in doing something wrong and been told that we're going to correct this? And that's what happens. It got corrected, and so we just have to deal with it and see where it goes as we move forward. So, and then she says, so there's no process involved at all. And so with that, she went ahead and settled it. And this is where Mark Massa, Justice, says that there's a difference between insubordinate is not the same as ineffectiveness, that he understood. And while he saw that, yes, certain things were going on with these two attorneys and that they were insubordinate, which those attorneys will take note of, that anytime you have a judge that even brings up and you're in part of that conversation and they bring up that you're the term insubordinate, you're going to take note of that for the fact that it can affect your career. And you don't want to be looked down upon by anyone, or because those words carry great weight. But he did carried it on and used the word that it's not ineffective. Insubordinate is not ineffective, and so we can't hold them that they're ineffective counsel. But this is one of the big things that is going to be ruling, that the high court mulled this point by stating that if a defendant had the right to represent themselves, even if a judge did not recommend it, then could not a defendant equally have a right to waive any concerns with their counsel and keep their said counsel if made aware of these concerns. And this is where the Richard Allen got to waive. And this was the strongest point, that he was told that his counsel was ineffective. And if he gets to choose that, oh, I don't care they're ineffective, I want them, then that takes away a lot of the stuff. And that was on that part. Let's get back into chat here now. And what's going on over here in chat? Josh the Posh. A lawyer on another channel suggested that there was no record of rule on disqualification. So now Gull can return to create that record through a hearing if she wanted to. You think that's possible? No. I mean, while they could have that hearing and she could say that they're disqualified, I read that the Supreme Court, the justices are leaning towards the part that regardless if they're ineffective, disqualified, or otherwise, that they're going to let Allen ride that ship that he got on. Wherever that ship carries him, he's chose to who he wants on that ship with him, sink or otherwise. He has loaded that ship up with the people that he wants on board with him. And so we just have to see which way it goes. But I don't think it's that she would do that. And if she does, I think it would be foolish. Yeah, I have a feeling the Supreme Court would make a quick decision, just not that quick. I'm 100% with you, Olivia. Never occurred to me. Same day. Never. And Dave says, in his opinion, that Richard Allen's playing all the people involved in a case like Fiddles. And he may be playing a large part of it. It seems to be that he gets, he's got a lot of focus on this case. And now we know exactly which way that these attorneys are going to be going. We know that they're going to be going with this theory of the odiness, and that there was a group of individuals, and or at least that's what they're saying now. That hasn't been placed before a judge and jury yet, and so they still have time that they could do anything and everything they want to say right now, and guide the prosecution that this is where we're going, this is where we're heading. But the day of trial, and when they do that opening statement is going to be what it's going to. So I don't trust attorneys at the end of the day. That no matter what they tell you pre-trial does not mean anything to me until they get up there and that jury's impaneled and they're sitting there and they're waiting to that they don't know about the odiness. They don't know about all the conspiracy issues. They don't know about the Keegan Klein, Ron Logan. They don't know about those things. They don't know which way this trial is going to go. And so just because that they float this issue out there doesn't mean at the end of the day that this is the way they're going to go. A lot of people play poker a lot of different ways. And is it possible they're playing a different game? Absolutely. No, I don't know if the written opinion's out there yet. No, I don't think that it has been published yet. It could have been, but I don't know. All right, Paula Lee, good to see you. Junior Johnson, the judges knew before they even got there they were going to reinstate the attorneys. Sure, that's how come they read all the briefings that they would have acquired and asked for certain reports. And they had a pretty good understanding so that they would know what questions to ask, get clarifications on, and come to that conclusion. And do I think, whenever I read something, I have an opinion, and I may ask a few questions, just like when law enforcement presents a search warrant to a judge or a probable cause affidavit for arrest, search, it doesn't matter, that they'll read it, and they may have some questions just for clarification. And that's what happens. And you know which way it's going to go from that. Let's see, make sure ain't anything going on that I should know about here. Nope. Make sure Mrs. Steve hadn't been doing anything that I need to know about. Oh. If I miss any questions, just let me know. Again, because sometimes I'm trying to keep up with chat. I'm way behind. One of the justices suggested Judge go through the process to find if the attorneys are negligent or ineffective. Will she? I don't think so. I think that She's going to let Mr. Allen sell that ship with whoever he wanted. Um, Dave says, "Where's Mrs. Steve?" She's still in Florida. She's down there with her parents and the Alts. But I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. Like I said, I don't know. I think um, the easiest way. I know a lot of people are going that route, but I'd be surprised if they did. Me, you made the choice. The Supreme Court says, "Hey, you got a right to make that choice." Hey, let them do it. I don't have a problem. If you think they're ineffective, and Richard Allen is absolutely 100% clear that these are the attorneys he wants, I don't think that that's an appeal for him to come in anymore. My personal opinion. The Supreme Court's already said that he has a right, and so who they, it's already been settled, in my opinion. And Kelly says, "Better late than never. Glad you're covering this. I caught the hearing today, and it was way interesting. Those judges didn't cut either side any slack, and they won't. Those judges don't owe either anybody anything other than the courts." Um, True crime opinion on McClellan giving the new charges on Richard Allen, pressing for a plea, info, or covering their bases. What do you think? I have a slide on that, and so we'll. Here are the new charges. Thank you for that, Molly. That fed right into the presentation. He has 2 counts of a homicide while committing or attempting to commit kidnapping that were previously filed, and now he has 2 counts of homicide and 2 counts of kidnapping. And McClellan said that the amended charges more accurately aligns the charging information with the crimes discovery and probable cause affidavit. And I looked it up, and he has 4 counts total of the homicides, but he can only be sentenced on 2 of them, and they carried between 45 and 65 if he's found guilty. And the kidnapping is 3 to 16 if convicted. And so we'll just have to see where it goes. But um, yes, I'm sure that it's all there as part of their strategy to try to get um, him to just go ahead and let's settle this thing. Yes, I think that we will get this trial started this year. We will now. With the new attorneys, probably not, but with these attorneys, absolutely. I think we'll get them going now. And this is a great thing here is that we're getting to see the legal system in action from the lower courts, middle courts, all the way up to the higher courts. And the lower courts, I'm talking about the ones that sign the probable cause affidavits and the arrest warrants and things, the search warrants. But and then you see the trial courts, and we even got in this case to get the Supreme Court to step in. And so this is a very rare thing that we're going to be able to see. Since I'm letting it all out, may I just say, this is Kelp. I wish folks would stop lumping folks who want the rule of law followed with those who are shouting RA is innocent. Yes, he's going to have his day in court, and everything that shows that he's innocent will be put before the jury. Just the same as everything that says that he's guilty will be put in front of that jury. And that jury gets to weigh, much like my little presentation, of which one carries the most questions that are answered and are believable and explains things. And that's how it'd be settled at the end of the day. Hello, Jill Moser. Good to see you. Ooh, thank goodness this is a safe place to say that. Absolutely. And if you ever do accidentally get booted by me, I accidentally boot people every now and then. So if it may be absolutely safe that what you say, but sometimes I still mess up. And this, yeah, guess Nick's no longer on his back foot. No. A certain guy who causes a ruckus thought today's new charges might be part of a plea deal. It's always a strategy that they're going to throw out there that, okay. And plus, it takes, you know, refocuses the public's attention on him. We just have to see where it goes. But there may be a plea deal that comes from it, but doesn't mean that there's a plea deal right now. I can see his point of why he might think that. Sharon, I'm just glad Rick Allen got someone in authority to listen to him. And, you know, I think he's had someone listening to him continuously. He didn't like what the answers were, but like his attorney said, that he's going to live with whatever is told to him, and it wouldn't matter regardless. Even if he wasn't happy with it, it's he's going to have to live with it. Kelt says, question: how can one reasonably expect Gold to be unbiased, overseeing the case hereforth? And I understand that, but like I said, the court, she's aware. The court told, and they explained to her. Even in that question, the question being, and I'll go back to it so that you'll see that. Where was it? When the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Indiana, which is of all the judges, this is the Chief Justice of Indiana, that says it does not appear this was done proper. Gull, I would imagine, swallowed real hard at that moment, saying, uh-oh, I didn't do it right. And why it could be, you know, this is in a public, this is something that no judge likes to ever be spoken about and told that you misstepped here. And we're not going to allow it. And when you do, we're going to bring it to the public's attention. And that there's no process that was involved at all. So she's telling her that if you do this, we're not going to stand by. We're not going to back you if you don't follow the law. If you follow the law and do the process and you do it correctly, you're good. But if you don't, we're going to be doing this again. And she understands that. But no judge likes to oversight. You know, nobody likes to be told that, well, while we respect you, you were wrong. Nobody likes that. Yes, Maria, I think that's basically what it is that he can't claim ineffective assistance because he's been told they were ineffective. No, they also said that the 70 days are from, if we look at this, of what it says, the court declined to move up Allen's trial, which means that they're not going to move it up, his trial date, and that they won't remove Go. With the internet and then, and I don't know what that, you'll be hard pressed to find an untainted jury pool these days. someone that is, and it depends on how you consider untainted. Can someone have knowledge and have heard of a crime and still be on a jury? Sure. They just can't have the opinion of innocent or guilt previously. They have to be open-minded that if the evidence is given to me, that yes, I know that this crime occurred, but do I know who's guilty or who's responsible? Am I biased in any way? You can still be on that jury. But now will people believe you or not? Do you think the new charges today means they believe Richard Allen is the only person responsible for this? They clearly stated that he's the one that they're going to charge with their homicides, and that with both of them. Before, you had the argument that, well, just the kidnapping led to that anyone could have committed homicides. With this, while that's still there, they have this that brought in that says, yes, he's the one that committed these crimes. And for him, and that he participated in their death. So, yes, I think it's more along the lines that they're pointing fingers at him totally and no others now. Kelt says they must have recently found more evidence. I think they've had a lot of evidence. And they have far more knowledge than what we do. Let's see here. Trying to get caught back up with chat. Not too far behind. Love to have Steve, the innocent booter. I've done it. I've done it several times, and I apologize all the time. I'm trying to stay away. I think Mrs. Steve helped me out a little bit the other day. She um, went in on the Google machine and made a couple of adjustments so I can find my little pointer. And I know where my pointer is at all times now. Before I'd lose it sometimes, but now I know exactly where it's at. Um, yeah. Let's see what's going on in chat. I'm glad. Appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate everybody being nice to each other. And this is a fair statement. Yes, I think statistically, most people that are over 60, and that number will change every year from here on out. That number will have to be, it'll be 61, 62, for the fact that more people with all these devices and our society is changing. And our news is changing. The way we communicate is changing. And the easier it gets, I think is going to be the better for all of us. And I agree with you. I think the judge, no one being under the magnifying glass, will absolutely pay more attention to the details. And she doesn't want to go back to any type of appeal process and back to the Supreme Court. So I think that we may see a lot of times that the judge says, we're going, I'll get back with you on that later. And so before some of the rulings, absolutely believe that she'll pay more attention to details. Yes, I think that yes, the that was one of the biggest things was having the in chambers meeting. Love to hunt, and yeah, I think the in chambers meetings uh, will be on the back burner. I think that the alternate attorneys are off the case now. I personally believe that for the fact that uh, we got the original attorneys, and it's like it never happened. All right, let's see. We're back on this of where the and that was something that the attorneys did say they would go pro bono, but court appointed if they've been reappointed by the courts, I would think that whatever those fees are, that's what they'll get. I don't know how it works up there. Do you think additional charges reflect more evidence? I do think that they opened the door and saying not only can we prove that he is the one who abducted them, but he's the one that committed the homicides. And so I do think that um, they their interpretation of whatever evidence they has that they have in this case as and they're willing to put it before by these new charges um, doesn't mean that they'll be found guilty of those new charges, but it does open that opportunity. It was Jill. I couldn't remember if it was Jill or Gail. And it may have been Gail too, but yes, God, just one of those moments and times that. But I think, like I said, Mrs. Steve has fixed that now. Do we have a trial date? Yes, it's in 2024. Um, uh, is it October? I've got so many trials in my mind right now that's coming up. Dave has Waffle House jokes. Yes, Judge Go is one that was having it, um, and that was brought up by the other judge that's saying while he thought they was insubordinate, doesn't mean that they're ineffective. Stephen Curry. Um, the trial should be ending today. I wish. Miles says, "Do you think that the attorneys will push for a speedy trial?" No, I think that they will start backing away from that, especially now that they have a new charges, and they'll say that we have to look at those, and um, so it gives them an opportunity to back away from that a little bit. Yeah, all righty, guys. I think I got caught up in it with everything now. If y'all have any other questions, let's see now. How far through? I know we got to the charges, and we were talking about those. Um, and that was just some statements made by the attorneys. It was not by the. I included some of the attorney statements in there of what they were saying that they And what attorneys say to the court at any time is just their opinions, because the judge at the end of the day gets to make that final clarification of which way the court's going to go, what we're going to allow. And a lot of times you see these attorneys make public statements just so that the public is aware and that of their feelings, and that's all it is, just their feelings. Do you think Richard Allen will be moved again? I don't know. I really don't. Jocelyn, I don't understand it either, about the patches and stuff. I work in a Supermax, and no one is allowed to display anything like that on their uniforms. Our department was the same way. You only got to wear what you were issued. If it wasn't issued to you, you couldn't put it on your uniform. Yeah, the new attorneys filed for a move last week, and we'll just have to see if he will be moved again. But who knows? They fell in line, and I have to give credit to the new attorneys that they didn't go in and that they only focused on one thing: getting this to the Supreme Court to clarify if they're going to be handling the case, or would the new attorneys be taken off and the old attorneys reinstated. And do I think they counted as a win for them and that they're no longer involved? Absolutely. Because I think that this trial it's not going to get, no matter what happens from this point forward, we've seen all the craziness in the world on this case. And usually when you're in crazy town, it doesn't ever get better. You're going to stay in crazy town. And you'll go on whatever street that you live on in crazy town. You may go to a better part of crazy town, but you'll always be in crazy town. And this trial appears to be that every unexpected thing that can happen happens. And do I think that will continue along that way? Yes. I think we're going to all reside on the outskirts in the suburbs, looking in on this court case and seeing all the craziness. Sadly, but the courts have dealt with crazy things throughout history, and they'll be able to find justice even in crazy town. And that's what we have to respect, that if this case can get justice, as crazy as it is, that then everyone has a chance at justice regardless. It's just that you just never see everything that's going on with this. Let's see here. Hot facts. I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad you're here. Here's someone else that's seen Crazy Town a time or two. Cop Facts says, in law enforcement, we've reported and answered a lot of calls with certain families that are deranged, and it never gets better. Once certain things start going, you're on that train ride, and you go back to that house, it's always the same story time and time again. And that's why this trial appears to be, that it's going down this one route. But I appreciate Cop Facts being here, and good to see you. Glad to hear from you. Oh, me. No, it didn't have to be initiated by the new attorneys. That's not what I meant. But they knew it was going to be going here, and so they prepared, and they knew that they were the attorneys that would be addressing the Supreme Court. That's all it is. I know that was some outside attorneys that submitted the motions and stuff. Call me Kitty, laughing out Crazy Town. I've lived there before. Oh. I hope that's not the case, because like I said, it won't work out well for her if she does that, of holding any type of over their heads. I just don't think that would do. All righty, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody being here, and thank y'all for all the support, the donations, and the memberships and things. We appreciate it. Y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see y'all soon. And but I'll be in town. Let's see, tonight, when we'll be on our next show, should be Saturday, and we'll see what pops up between now and Saturday. And but y'all stay safe out there. And if you're in Crazy Town, just mind your P's and Q's while you're out there. But y'all stay safe and see. Oh, Molly says just testing the system. Yeah, I saw where someone couldn't get in. Thank you, Molly. And I don't know what's wrong with the system. But anyway, we'll see y'all soon on Saturday. And but be careful. Bye-bye, guys.